So listen, we're about to get into something that is so powerful because God just gave me the word. And I'm telling you, this is going to blow your mind. So listen, I'm going to have to break it up in 2 parts because it's a lot, but it's good. So stay tuned for part 1. I'm posting it right now. I want y'all to take heed, take notes, write this stuff down, and be active because this is fitting to get good. Y'all about to get free from an idol you probably didn't know you was carrying around. Let's go. Let's get into the video.
Can't keep going back to what I used to know.
So here goes the meat and potatoes. I posted a question about, did you know that you can idolize pain? And a few people said yes, a few people said no. I learned this recently. Now, I know a lot of things that you can idolize. Things, people, places, even experiences, right? But this part never dawned on me. I dared to ask God one day. I said, God, I really want to know if you can reveal to me if there's anything in me that I'm idolizing. Can you please reveal it to me so that we can get rid of it, right? And it took about 2 or 3 days. And then he said to me, pain. And I said, pain? He said, yes, you have idolized your pain. So of course I asked God, how am I doing this? He said, you've grown so accustomed to your pain story that you repeat it over and over and over in your head as if you never want to forget it or let go of it. He said, you act as though it gives you purpose and a reason to live the way you do. Excuse me? Of course I said, live the way I do? How am I living, Lord? He said, you're living below excellence, even though you are more than capable of being excellent. I.e., example, procrastination, hindering and delaying your own process, not being receptive to progress, internally blaming others for why you didn't complete something you said you was gonna do. He said pain has become a security blanket so that you can boldly proclaim how well you know it. Please let that sit for just a second. Do you know how many people use their pain story as a badge of honor? They carry it like, yes, look at what I fought through. And not in a way that is freeing, but in a way that keeps you held and in bondage still. He said, so many people hold on to their pain story, live in their pain story, because it gives them a sense, he put quotations, sense of purpose and need. And then he gave me an example and he said, if a person doesn't feel needed in a positive sense and they are dealing with people-pleasing issues and insecurity, not feeling worthy, he said, so many people, if you can't be needed or validated or useful or purposeful in a positive sense, then unconsciously you will settle for a dysfunctional, negative form of being purposeful and needed. Okay? Y'all follow me because this thing blew my mind. He said this comes from the consistent participation in a dysfunctional family dynamic or a relational dynamic that has conditioned you to want more of what you already know so well. Period. Let me put a pin in that for a second and explain a little further. So I live by this statement that says you don't know what you don't know. But then also the opposite of it is you know what you know. And by default, human nature, we're going to go after what we know. By default, we're going to go after what's familiar. We're going to go after what makes us feel comfortable. We're going to go after what gives us peace, even if that peace or comfort or familiarity is abuse, dysfunction, brokenness. This is what we do. Follow. If you don't believe what I'm saying so far, then all you have to do is assess your own fruit. As Tiffany Montgomery says, be a fruit inspector, right? If you date the exact same guy all the time and he just so happens to be narcissistic, very selfish, very self-centered, and this can be female or male, so I don't want to, let me be very clear about that, then there goes your fruit, right? If you always attract to yourself brokenness, insecurity, again, abuse on some level. It may not be physical abuse, but it might be verbal and emotional and mental abuse. If that is something that you're finding consistently, well, that's your fruit. That is an indicator to let you know that everything that I'm telling you that God gave me personally, I am telling you, you are struggling with this idol. Repeat cycles are indicators that you have now become a magnet to that thing, and you have to first identify that you've become that magnet so that you can break the connection. But first, let me finish what everything else that God said to me before we get into that. Stay with me on this, because I'm gonna go back a little bit. Remember when I said family dynamic? This is now speaking directly to the person who's identified with the title of black sheep or scapegoat. You know, have you played that role in your family dynamic? Now, I'm about to free you, so please hear this. If you have played the role as a scapegoat, then you are literally, or you have been primed to be the pain catcher in your family. Literally, in the Bible, I forget what book it's in, because me and the kids, we were just studying it. But in the Old Testament, there's a part of the story where God tells the priest in the field to get a goat or sheep, right? And symbolically pour all of the sins of the people in the community onto this goat and release this goat into the wilderness so they can wander basically aimlessly, carrying the burden and the sin of everyone in the community. Well, when you play the role as a scapegoat in your family, you again become conditioned and accustomed to unconsciously almost desire pain. And it's not because you actually want to be in pain, but unconsciously that is where you've lived for so long. And so because you have not been able to identify that root, you continue to make decisions every single day unconsciously that lead you down the exact same path, just with different cross streets. I'm telling you, this is what happens. This is how we repeat cycles and patterns, and then they call it generational curses. This is how. So you fitting to get free today. Follow. So I'm gonna keep going with everything that God said to me, because I took notes on this. It was so good. But he said internally, you have a belief that if you don't stand in the gap, then no one else will. If you don't become the filter for the pain, then nobody else will. And what happens is, with that thought process, you go into the rest of your adult years still carrying that idea, that belief that then bleeds into everything in your life. Now, what I just said, you might say, what do you mean? This is the challenge with the statement of, you know, the chosen one. When you take that title on, again, if you have a lot of dysfunction and broken thinking and belief systems running in your mind, in your body, in your life, when you hear that statement, it sounds like a burden. It sounds like you have to be the one to stand as the shield to protect everyone in your bloodline. This is the thing, okay? Because I know, listen, y'all, I'm sharing this from the mouth of somebody who has been there, done that. I'm trying to tell you, God had to free me, okay? Being chosen does not mean you stand in the gap as if you're God. Hear that? People always talk about others having God complexes. Well, guess what? The pendulum can swing the other way and still show up as a God complex. And the challenge is, we don't always identify it as a God complex because it almost sounds, at least in our own minds, right? It almost feels like, no, I'm doing something honorable. I'm taking the heat for all of this. I'm doing something honorable. And in all reality, it's foolish. You know why? Because now you're taking the position of God when that is not what God told you to do. Let God be what only God can be. God is the one that becomes the covering for all of us. God is the one that tells us to come and lay our burdens at his feet. God is the one that provides a wing for us to hide under. God is the one. He's the protector, right? So we got to get that through our heads, because it is not up to you to break everything. It is, you have an assignment, yes. But don't allow your pain story to be your badge of honor that you carry around to make yourself feel as though your flame can't get blown out, because you need this strength and this resistance and this, this struggle to make you stronger. No, you don't. You need Christ. Again, let that sink in. You need Christ, because it's through him that gives us the power to do whatever it is that we need to do. We are not doing this in our own strength. We are not doing this by ourselves. Whatever assignment God has placed on you, you are not doing this from a place of pain. You are doing it. You are fighting from a place of victory, because it's already been won, because God did it. By allowing your pain story to navigate your life, you are setting yourself up to literally have repeat experiences of the exact same thing, with just different faces and different locations. If you want to know how to break this, you're going to have to listen to part 2, because this video has gotten way too long. So I'm going to post part 2 so that you guys can get the breakthrough that God gave me. I promise you, this is going to blow your mind. And once you really get it, the sky is the limit. Stay tuned, y'all. I love you. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe on my YouTube channel. I'm only dropping gems that I know are going to change your life. So stay tuned, join the family, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next part 2. Bye, y'all.
Can't keep going back to what I used to know. Love, please hold my hand as I go down this road.